Now, when the flood started, people, here's a significant thing. Now, we're going to start into some information here that's going to kind of explain why things happened here in Glen Rose the way it did. The flood itself created enough energy to start moving the North American continent to the west. When it did that, it started doing subduction of the plate. Billy's going to explain that real carefully. And this is going to be part of the scenario about why men were here in this area and trapped and trying to get away. So anyway, this is showing that the flood started the North American continent moving to the west, the subduction zone.
If you see these two right here, there was a little tiny bridge right there that the kangaroos and so forth could jump across and go to Australia.
Right there.
But that was it. And so they got stranded in an isolated area, wombats and all those. But right here is Antarctica. And Antarctica has plant fossils. At one time it was warm. And it has
dinosaur fossils.
And dinosaur fossils.
Yes.
So it was attached and it was warm at one time.
Yep.
And so I don't think so much of global warming. I think we ought to protect and be as careful, but I think it's kind of a climatic change also. Cycles that we go through.
Here are some pictures I've taken of various places around the world that show how beautiful the world really is now. The world's a beautiful place, but people think of what it was like before the flood. It was a garden. God created it for man's benefit. Don't you think that when God creates something for man's benefit, it's going to be the best that it can be?
Yes.
Absolutely. This, people, is evidence of destruction. You look at everything on here, what we see is evidence of destruction, erosion, volcanic activity, man's activity. Everything happening here is because of the fall, okay? And that's what it's beautiful, and we like what we see, but it's still evidence of destruction.
Everything God created was good. Remember that's what he said?
That's right.
It was good, and it was good. He was enjoying it, and so forth. So it's very important that we think of it that way, that it was created beautiful and still beautiful today.
Yeah.
Here's what we think, that during the time of the flood and so forth, that there was a temperature, atmospheric temperature, all this rain and so forth, a tremendous amount of rain, and there were some mountains here and here that became barriers and developed some gigantic lakes, which we call abatement zones, tremendous amounts of water. And this water later on is going to crash through and break through and go through the soft rocks like the Grand Canyon and carve it out just in a matter of minutes. Because if you go to Mount St. Helens and you look at that, what happened, and just Spirit Lake and all that area, and I've looked down and see it there, that there's some layer of rocks there. There's a 1/40th scale of the Grand Canyon that appeared in just a few days. So go ahead, Jack. You've got to go.
This abatement pool right here, people, is part of the evidence that we see here today. What we see here today is not actually totally from the flood. It is what ended up here was of the flood, of course, but we still have a few mountains left in this area because they were part of what kept this abatement pool from draining out so quickly. Billy and I believe that evidence we found with the age of fossils and things in the area, that this pool may have been here for as much as maybe 10 years before it actually drained out. Before the flood, all the water in this area drained to the north and west. We have proof of that. After the flood, all the water drained this way through the Brazos River and all that to the Gulf of Mexico. That had to be because this water here was flowing this way. The water before the flood was flowing that way. We have clear evidence of that. We're just not being skeptical. We're not supposing here, supposing. We got evidence of it.
And I finally thought of my thought. And something I never figured out, where is a thought before it's thought of? It's somewhere. I don't know where it is before you think of it. But anyway, that God said it was good, and so that old song came to my mind, how beautiful heaven must be. If we're seeing all of these things that God created here, just imagine how beautiful heaven's going to be.
All right. Cuvier was a churchman. He believed in catastrophism. Everybody know what catastrophism is here? It's the belief that the flood of the Bible is actually what caused all the geology around the world. It's a catastrophic event, ergo catastrophism. All right? The word catastrophism means caused by a catastrophic event. Lyle was a uniformitarian. He believed that everything here did not happen because of the flood. He didn't believe in the flood. Things did not happen because of God. He didn't believe in God. He thought it was all gradual events that took place over eons of time. He observed that streams put down layers of silt inches a year. So he said, well, if they only put down inches a year, then it must have taken many, many years to put down a foot of this stuff. Many, many more years to put down 10 feet of it. You get the picture? The more layers, the more time. that's not our scenario. Is it can be done in 1 year with a great deal of water. He said a little bit of water does a little bit here, go over a long period of time. A whole bunch of water can do it quicker over a short period of time.
Right, and
That's
God,
the difference.
And God, nothing too hard for God, the Bible says. So we have to limit him. So some people limit him and so forth in every case like this. And you say, why did he take 6 days for creation? He could have done it in 6 seconds. But the 6 days was illustrated as Sabbath rest. If he had done it in 6 seconds, we'd have to rest every 7 seconds for a Sabbath. And so we'd get tired of that. And
that's what we call a billyism. That's like the more birthdays you have, the longer you live.
Yeah, that's
another billyism. He said that.
That's what I discovered.
And he was evidence of this, too.
But these big words, catastrophism, is just people that believe in
He completely
catastrophe.
ignores me every time I say something like that.
Uniformitarianism is just a big word that means the present's the key to the past. That means things have always been like they are. And we know that the flood changed everything. I mean,
Sure
that
did.
was the whole earth was destroyed.